Hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, my friends, Marc Lamont Hill, who is quite the eminent, successful African American left forward commentator, has recently said something that I think is very concerning and really demonstrates the depths of anti intellectualism that certain sectors of the commentariat will embody in the pursuit of their own narratives. What exactly do I mean? So let's just give a little bit of a background on Mr. Marc Lamont Hill. Let me make something very clear. I always say that it is my goal to connect the human with the political and the political with the human. What do I mean by that? I mean that I want to understand how politics happens in relation to our own human desires and our own sort of human perspectives. Because unfortunately, politics has expanded beyond being about convictions and principles that are limited to a certain sector of actions, to being about how we feel, how we want things to happen, to being about almost restructuring and organizing the world. Now, for that reason, I like to focus on principles on this channel. However, a lot of times, and actually all the time, people are simply vessels for principles. People are simply carriers of certain ideas. Principles cannot really manifest in our social context without people to articulate them. Principles can manifest elsewhere, like the principle of gravity exists regardless of if someone recognizes it or not, but the principle of commerce does not exist without human beings. We cannot have economics without human beings. So that's why I sometimes ostensibly break my pledge to talk about ideas and talk about people, because people and ideas most of the time are inextricably linked. So Marc Lamont Hill was interviewing Chris Rufo, a man who I've appeared on the panel with, who is basically the foremost expert on critical race theory in these United States. And Chris Rufo is apparently he's white, and so Marc Lamont Hill thought it would be a good idea during an interview to ask him, basically try to trap him rhetorically, what do you like about being white? Now, when you ask someone that question and they're white, if they answer in the affirmative, they are immediately called a racist. Why? Well, because apparently white folks cannot have racism done towards them, since they are allegedly the purveyors of racism. So a black person can easily say, oh well, blackness is this, and I like this about being black because apparently a black person is oppressed. But a white person cannot see the same thing because apparently white people are the dominant, people who are domineering. Now, if you want my personal opinion, no one should like anything about a complexion that has nothing to do with their interests, with who they are fundamentally and dynamically as a human being. You shouldn't like anything about being black because guess what? Blackness is not descriptive. Whiteness is not descriptive. We give these terms meaning, but in nature they mean nothing. We choose these terms. So I think that the entire idea of you liking something because you're black or because you're white is just absolutely irrational because they do not reflect the dynamism, the complexity of who you are. But let's see what Mr. Marc Lamont Hill has to say to Mr. Rufo.
Say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white? What would you say?
I don't know. Again, it's such an amorphous term. It's like a census
Yes.
term or
But can you do me? Indulge me. Indulge me for one. We're running out of time. Indulge me for a minute. I understand you see it as all these things, but you surely recognize that the world sees you as white. You know the world reads you as white. And if you were to ask me some things I like about being black, I could talk about cultural norms. I could talk about tradition. I could talk about
nothing to do with being black and everything to do with how we've given significance to certain concepts that we've identified as a blackness. So we're going to stop him here because that's like a 2-minute thing. I don't want us to go over too far. What he's basically doing is he's posing a premise. And then, in the course of that premise, without actually justifying the premise through logical argumentation, he's assuming it's true and then asking Rufo a question within that idea. So he's basically saying, okay, what do you like about being white? Well, what if Rufo doesn't like anything about being white? What if he doesn't think that whiteness has any descriptive properties to it? The premise is flawed. But Marc Lamont Hill does not want to hear anything about that. He wants to hear, he already assumes that he likes something about being white, so it's a leading question, and so he wants to hear your answer. He doesn't care about a different perspective. This is fundamentally anti-intellectual. No scientific inquiry, no empirical inquiry is going to start with a leading question that doesn't give room for other perspectives to be involved in that leading question. So in all honesty, Marc Lamont Hill is trying to trap Rufo into a game that he cannot possibly play to win because of the social conditions and the social definitions of what it means to be a white man in America. Do you understand what's going on, people? Do you see how these people operate, or how Lamont Hill operates? Although this is a tactic that is sometimes used by critical race theorists to push their stuff as well. You see how this operates? So this is a primer. I said this on Twitter. This is a primer on how to be an anti-intellectual, because it assumes that a single answer, without investigating that answer or anything to do with that answer, has a single response. It assumes that without proving it. And when you assume a premise and you end with the same premise, do you know what we call that in logic? Circular reasoning. But again, this is a rhetorically effective question because it traps Rufo into a box where he has to justify his white privilege or try to run away from it, which gives satisfaction to people like Lamont Hill, which gives satisfaction to people in his same ideology. Marc Lamont Hill, my friend, you are smarter than this, although you have a history of having very simplified political beliefs. I mean, you said that you wanted Palestine to be free from the river to the sea, which is an anti-Semitic slogan, which fundamentally means that you want the destruction of Israel. Then you backtrack to, no, I don't want Israel to be destroyed. My point is this, regardless of what that claim means, Marc Lamont Hill has a history of saying atrocious things and assuming things without actually investigating and inquiring into why those things may be true. Marc Lamont Hill, if for no other reason, is an example of why every American citizen should know a little bit of philosophy, even if it's simple deductive logic, so they can escape traps like this. Because if I had been up there, he wouldn't have liked my answer. I would have told him to stop defining himself by undescriptive terms that we give artificial significance to because we want to be fit into a social group, because we, as individuals who adhere to race-based ideology, don't care about our inherent worth and our divine values as human beings, because we eschew individualism, because we don't have the self-love, the rational self-love, as the Dutch theorist, Swiss theorist, Emer de Vattal said, that leads to other interactions. We lack all of that, and so we want to embody this kind of emaciated, watered-down, poor man's version of what it means to be accepted by saying, I'm black, I'm white. No! Reject that. Reject the premises and understand you are an individual first and foremost. Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. That's Emerson. Self-reliance. Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. You must not conform to these things. And he says, a few lines below that, you have to test goodness to see if it be goodness. The goodness here, goodness is simply that which is established and widely accepted. The goodness here is that it's okay to speak about race in descriptive terms, but that is a lie. Because again, it is not a descriptive adjective. It is not a descriptive concept, I should probably say. So that his adjective circles. So that's the point. So watch out for stuff like this. Marc Lamont Hill is very dishonest. He's anti-intellectual, and there are people who follow in his footsteps who will do the same tactics. Don't buy into it. Reject the premise and understand the primacy of your individual human being. Think on it. My friends, if you want to support me, please. Patreon.com/officialcwatson or officialcwatson@gmail.com. I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for listening to me. And please like, share, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, stay pensive. Bye.